What's the deal with Aquaman?
What's the deal with decaf?
What's the deal with lampshade? What's the deal with
rape culture? Not a very funny subject.
That's less funny than lampshade, Cory.
Funny than lampshade. Okay, I read quite a bit on this, but most of what I took notes on was from the wiki page.
Did what you read say that rape culture is bad or good?
Oh, it all said it was bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm learning something tonight, Cory.
Yeah. Well, hopefully somebody will. But, yeah, so I guess according to Wikipedia, rape culture is a sociological concept for a setting in which rape is pervasive and normalized due to societal attitudes about gender and sexuality. Some of the behaviors that are included in this are victim blaming, slut shaming, sexual objectification, trivializing rape, denial of widespread rape, refusing to acknowledge the harm caused by sexual violence, or some combination of those things. The term itself came about in the 70s and was meant to show the ways in which society blamed the victims of sexual assault and normalized sexual violence. According to Wikipedia, when it came out, most Americans assumed that rape, incest, and spousal abuse were rare, and the concept of rape culture made the claim that rape was actually common in American culture and that it was one of the ways that societal misogyny and sexism were revealed. I think that it should probably say not just American culture. I think it's not.
Cory, I'm pretty sure Wikipedia has never been wrong or inaccurate in any way. Right. I am really offended right now.
Yeah. Are you accusing Wikipedia of ethnocentrism? I can't pronounce it right now, but yeah.
I'm accusing Cory of Wikipedia-ism.
Here's the isms.
There's certainly a little bit American-centric. How about that? There were two main books that came out in the 70s. Noreen Connell and Cassandra Wilson wrote Rape, the first source book for women, and Susan Brown Miller wrote Against Our Will, Men, Women, and Rape. These books included a number of firsthand accounts of women who were raped and had the intent to show that rape was far more common than was generally believed. There was also a film in 1975 that was actually titled Rape Culture, and it went into the rape of men, the rape of women, and had discussions with victims as well as perpetrators. So rape culture is essentially a culture in which rape is excused in a number of ways. Victim blaming, focusing on false accusations, accusing all women of making false accusations, and calling rape rough sex are examples of how rape culture excuses rape. Victim blaming can also take on a number of forms, such as calling attention to the victim's past promiscuity, pointing out that the victim what the victim was wearing, claiming that the victim didn't fight back enough, or claiming that the victim shouldn't have drank so much. There's also people who just say women are all liars, and that some people say that the victims deserve it. Susan Brown Miller brought up 3 ideas in her book, Against Our Will. The first was, she pointed out that, I guess that these ideas brought up kind of an awareness about the myths around rape. And first she pointed out that any woman can be a victim, and it's not tied to any age, size, ethnicity, or status. Women are not victims of rape because they are bad or misbehaved. There is no personal characteristic that leads women to be more likely to be targeted. Second, she pointed out that any man can be a rapist, not just evil men or the mentally ill, which feels a little ableist to say. I don't know. To blame it on mental illness, it doesn't seem like it would have been. I guess in the 70s that was probably more common.
That one's not one I've heard a lot recently.
Right.
Mental illness as an explanation.
No.
I think what you're talking about, like in terms of rape culture, the explanation is this is our culture. This is okay. Like
right.
It's actually the opposite of abnormal. Mental illness is considered an abnormal brain.
Right,
it's actually
yeah.
it's just of course he's going to have sex with him, if she's drunk and blah, blah, like, I mean, right? Like, it's just, I guess.
Yeah, it's just, exactly. Yeah, I can't say it any better than you did.
I had to woman-splain it to you, Cory.
Yeah, that's right. I put a note in here. Many men of many different stripes are rapists, and as much as the crime of rape is evil, they can be just another normal dude who feels entitled to women's bodies. They can even be Supreme Court justices. And the third idea was that rape can occur in many different ways and doesn't always fit the violent, forceful rape in a back alley type model that many people were taught. We know that it includes things like date rape or situations where someone is too inebriated to consent, or where the consent is given initially but then has been revoked. In the past, spousal and partner rape was also not even considered rape, which seems absurd now.
I think in some countries, still you can't.
Yeah,
you cannot be charged with raping your spouse.
Maybe even in some states still in the U.S.
Could be.
I don't think so.
I don't know. They got some strange laws in some of those places.
I don't. I may be wrong, but I think it's actually relatively. I think there's only like a handful of countries left where you. I may be wrong, but I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken. But I don't think I'm wrong on this one. Anyways, maybe I'm wrong.
So there are some different takes on what causes a rape culture, with some claiming that it is about power and dominance, while some just think that it's part of the culture and it's just men feel entitled and that they have a denigrated view of women where they don't consider them to have personal autonomy. This can be perpetuated by sexist jokes or just different attitudes. I talked to some guys in my day-to-day life who have a way of turning every conversation into a conversation about how all women are X type of stereotype. And yeah, there's also
hashtag not all women.
Right. Yeah. There's also a thing that I came across in my reading called bimbo culture, which
that rings a bell for some reason.
Yeah. In which women are considered to be nothing more than sex dolls with no personality or autonomy of their own, separate from the men they are, quote unquote, meant to give pleasure to. Rape culture is considered always changing and adapting so that it will be considered legitimate. Yeah. And currently much of rape culture is filtered through lenses of gender roles and heteronormativity. But that could change if it suits those who commit rapes and or those who are in positions of power. An example might be when Donald Trump says that you can just grab women by the pussy, I guess.
I don't think he said, I guess. Well, the funny thing is, the people in power and the people who rape are a Venn diagram that do overlap.
Yes.
Which we know this.
Donald
Trump is in the middle of those two circles.
That's right.
So is Kavanaugh, really.
Right, eh?
Well, at a different level, I should say. I mean, anyways.
I mean, Kavanaugh, I'm going to play lawyer here for a second and just say Kavanaugh's been accused of attempted.
Right.
And as for the gang rape thing, he was linked to being there, but never said he was part of it. That doesn't mean he's innocent of shit, but...
to be fair, he has never been tried for it. It was in the context of an extreme job interview that this came up.
That's
right?
kind of I have a problem with that. But yeah, that's exactly the problem.
Yeah, something that when I was thinking about this that came up in my memory was a trip to, you might remember, Mendoza. We went to the classic rock weekend. Yep. A few years ago, well, quite a few years ago, like
eons ago,
20 some odd years ago, 20-ish,
yeah.
And I was drinking, and I met a woman there that she was drinking, and we went back to her tent, and then she got sick and threw up. And I mean, I stayed and helped her clean up or whatever so that she wasn't sitting in vomit. But then I left. And then when I told the story after the fact to some of the guys that I knew, they questioned why I didn't have sex with her anyway. And that is, I think, part of that culture. Like, I think that's the rape culture that men are part of that we don't really recognize until we're examining it.
Well, it's that weird, I mean, the knuckle dragger mentality that's part of, well, Western Canada, where, it's like, oh, why didn't you stick around? It's like, because she was going to pass out. She'd had too much to drink. It's not a good scene, man. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Maybe you just didn't like the smell of vomit. Maybe just not into that. Some people are into vomit porn, some people aren't.
Some
you know what I'm
people
saying?
aren't. That's true. Yeah. I don't know. It's. I had some other examples that kind of came to my mind.
Pretty extreme example there, dude.
Well, it's setting the bar high or low, I guess the case.
Do you know what I always think? I always think of. I always come back to this. I don't know why this really affected me. The Jian Ghomeshi trial.
Oh yeah.
When what was her name now? I'm sorry, I'm blanking. The actress from Trailer Park Boys, she testified against him, and she testified that he choked her against her will, and there was things going on that were not correct.
Right.
But then she, the next day, whatever, was still going out with him, or she wrote him letters that was and she explained it on the stand as that she was normalizing what to her was actually traumatic behavior.
Right.
And as a woman listening to her say this, I'm like, this is totally plausible. This is totally a thing that could, and
right.
But to a lot of people, this was like totally, she was so obviously lying because she kept, because she wrote him cute little love notes after and, went to the park with him the next day.
Right.
And I'm just like, no, this is because I think people still have this stereotype of a rapist as person who jumps out of bush, literally forces you to have sex with them at knife point, and that's what a rapist is.
Yeah.
And there is just this thing in our culture we cannot seem to understand that most rape occurs with somebody
Yeah.
Like it's just that's how it gets. It's just
it's not the
usually
creepy dude in the bush. It's
not usually that. I mean, I think everyone agrees. I mean, at least it's good. Everyone agrees that's bad. That's good.
It's a starting point.
And everyone agrees that that's rape. But even the term date rape pisses me off because it's like date rape is rape. It's rape. It's not
no, that's right.
You know what I mean? It's not it's.
In my readings, there was like the term acquaintance rape came up in the 80s. And it's like to call, rape from somebody that you know, but it is still.
But as long as it's recognized that that's just as bad. And honestly, in some ways, maybe more traumatizing to be violated by somebody you thought you could trust, or somebody that who you're intimate with, or that you have a relationship with is almost, I mean, that's terrible.
Actually, when you said at least everybody can agree that the back alley forced rape thing is bad.
Most people agree with that.
Yeah, most. I mean,
but politically, there's not a political party that we're like, well, why can't guys just jump out of bushes and rape women at knife point? Like
a young swimmer with a promising future ahead of them.
No, but that was acquaintance. He knew
That's true.
them
He
through.
Didn't know her.
That's so it was, and it's happening in modern day where if you know the person, somehow it's okay to rape them. I don't understand. It don't make no sense.
No,
but. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said entitlement, because I think that's because people are like, rape is about power. Maybe the jumping out of the bushes one is. I feel like a lot of it is about entitlement.
Yeah.
I feel entitled. I'm whatever. I want sex. I feel entitled to get it from you. You have to give it to me.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy, and that's not right.
No. And now we just got to convince the rest of the culture of that.
Well, I don't know. I think the part of it is our culture is fucked. Like I was just thinking, like what was that joke about? There's so many people say porn is bad, but yet 50 Shades of Grey sold 150 million copies. Like women won't watch porn, but they'll read the shit out of it. Like, I mean, there was one line. It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing.
I know women who watch porn.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It was a part of a kind of a bad joke, but yeah.
Not me.
Yeah,
but
no.
Women watching porn is on the rise. Like,
yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
know that. Why would there be a stigma?
There was a line in the wiki page that said feminists blame this rape on pornography, and I thought it should have at least said some at the start of the sentence, because there are some feminists who blame pornography for some level of rape culture, because the objectification of women is part of some porn. Yeah. Right? Well, arguably all porn.
You know what the big problem with porn actually is? Bad sex, right? Because it creates this expectation that women will be orgasming in 5 seconds as soon as it's not about, it's just so fake that it gives because it's mostly men watching it. I just feel like it's just giving them a bad idea of what
it is. Definitely not a place to educate yourself on sex,
right? In terms of what's going to work for your partner. It's terrible. As a woman, I'm like, oh god, it's terrible.
Here's the thing, and this is a big rabbit hole, but we can't say porn and then understand what we're talking about just by saying porn, because there's so many varieties of it.
Right.
Like nowadays, it's like any kind of porn exists, so it's not like.
Go ahead, Dave. List them. We want to hear.
But Rule 34.
No, for real though. You're right. But I've had this argument with one of my friends lots, where I say to him, I'm like there is a difference between let's say amateur porn between two regular people who are just enjoying each other's company and they film it. Like there's a difference between that and here's a set with all these people who are like part of the porn industry. Yeah. And we're editing it in a clever way and blah, 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 blah.
Mainstream porn.
Well,
I think there is
traditional porn.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, okay. Or, I mean, and I generally, I don't think, I don't have a problem with porn. Porn is what it is. But I would say that child porn is completely unethical and completely not okay. You know what I mean? So everyone says, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, there's
degrees.
It goes from,
but again, we're going right down to one last concept, and I bring this up every time we talk about this stuff, and it's consent.
Yeah.
It's all about consent. You know what? Again, I'm not going to claim that it's I don't know, okay, so let's say a girl enjoys that kind of behavior that you're describing, right? And they consent to that. Is that immorally, is that immoral? Is that morally wrong because they did that?
Of course not.
Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah.
So again, consent.
You have to say, or nah.
Or nah. So not that I'm encouraging
you gotta
everybody.
Play that song, dude.
Well, yeah, not that I'm encouraging everybody to go out and do the same thing that you see in every porno, but I think the point I'm making is that consent has to happen at all levels of society and all areas. Like we have to teach kids consent. So ultimately, it's like if you're not comfortable with that and that's not what you want, then say no. And we should have a society where people are okay when you say no. And that's just the bottom line. And I don't want to kink shame anybody. If somebody's into some weird stuff, I'm not going to go.
Kink shame. I've never heard that before. I like that.
Oh, no,
I've never heard that term.
Yeah. I mean, it happens a lot, right? Like people kink shame girls a lot, actually. Like if you're a hooker, you're a whore, or whatever. I don't know. But so I just feel like
I don't know that many hookers are into being hookers because that's their kink. Is it?
Some of them.
Okay. I would think mostly it's a financial decision, but anyways.
No, it's not for everybody. No,
really?
no, I think there's a very broad spectrum of sex workers.
Right.
Some enjoy their work.
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah.
All right.
But
the more you know.
Again, you can't this. It's so hard to generalize in all these areas.
I think it's a hard thing to talk about because there's so many nuances in it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I really like you focusing on the idea of consent as having even broader implications, because I don't know if anyone's seen, there's a series of cartoons on the internet that kind of describes how ludicrous some of our ideas about consent with sex are when you apply it to somebody else. Like,
Right.
something, like there'll be a comic and it'll say like, dude, that's my car. Why are you driving my car? Well, you told me I could drive your car last week. So this week I decided to just drive your car without asking you. Right. Like, and if
Oh,
you
for
think about it
sure.
in that
Yeah.
level, like, it's like, yeah, it's absurd to think, for somebody to say, oh, well, we had sex last week, therefore I'm entitled to sex this week. Like, like
Right. It's implied consent.
So I really feel that. So then carrying forward from that is that from a very young age, we need to teach kids, first of all, the concept of autonomy and second of all, the concept of consent. And,
totally agree with you.
And understanding those things early in all areas, including people, like even like simple things like maybe this person doesn't want a hug, maybe this person doesn't want to be touched, and they have the right to say no. Like I teach my kid that all the time.
Yeah.
And if he says no, he doesn't want a hug, I don't force him to hug
Absolutely.
his grandmother. Like we have to learn not to be forced into that kind of stuff. So simple things like that need to be taught to kids to understand like everybody's autonomy, and
Totally agree with you.
so that's really where defeating rape culture lies to me. It lies in all of that groundwork.
What do you think of the idea of affirmative consent or like explicit affirmative consent rather than just the no is the opposite of consent?
Yeah. So sex should require enthusiastic consent.
Right. It should
Right.
be a,
Yes.
yes, I want to have sex with you, not
No, yeah.
no, I'm all right, I'll do it.
And like that, I guess everybody's different, but I find that interesting because I think this has been said before on the show. It's like, if they're not into it, why would I be into it? You know what I mean? Like that's the way I look at it.
But I
It's
mean,
like,
some people are into that, right?
Well, yeah, for real.
I think
For real.
when it,
unfortunately.
we can talk about it intellectually, but when it really comes down to the moment, everyone's got their own weird thing. Like,
possibly, yeah.
There's that, that stereotype about, where some women want to be chased and some don't. It gets murky when you get right down to it. But I mean, ultimately, yeah. If there's a hesitation on anyone's part, that should be.
It should be a red flag, stop sign.
Yeah.
And we should have a culture that says, no, you're not into that's cool. That's fine. Like, like that's
that's right.
And it's okay. It's like whatever. Just because one person wants sex does not mean they're entitled to get it from the other person. It doesn't matter if you're in a relationship. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
And you're right. Like if you had it last week, doesn't mean you can have it this week.
Right.
Like you kind of said about the car thing. It's very similar too. Like maybe they're not going to be as enthusiastic this next time. Maybe they're like, oh, well, I guess. Interesting.
Well,
I think we solved the
I
problem.
think we solved rape
We did it.
culture.
We did it. Thanks, guys.
We solved it in leaving it at a very murky moment.
But maybe what we've said can enlighten somebody who's
I think
not,
it boils down to I think it comes down to that, is if there's hesitation on either part, then
like
Pump
I
the
know
brakes.
when we had Dusty Smith on, he said that there was a time in his life where he didn't think rape culture was a thing. And I think that there's a lot of men who are in that boat. They see rape as a bad thing, and they see
But only the bush rape.
there's
there's
see
that, 'cause
people condemning rape, and they think we don't live in a rape culture because I condemn rape, or I was taught that consent was important. But there's more to it, I think.
yeah. I mean, I've
there
known a
is-
few guys that are like, they just, if they're interested, they just keep,
Right, they'll just keep going, eh?
they just keep,
And then you have
knocking on that door, so to speak.
like, I mean, we haven't even really touched on like pickup culture or like the MRA type of idea about like, or Jordan Peterson's enforced monogamy. Like
I don't know what the fuck that is
We
all
haven't even
about.
touched on any of that stuff that that all plays a role in the male entitlement of view of like the view that they are entitled to women's bodies, and that prevents them from acknowledging autonomy and holding back when there isn't consent.
Can I also say one more thing that just occurred to me about sex is a weird thing in that everyone has a different perspective, and it's important to assume that your partner doesn't have the same perspective as you.
Right.
So it's important to say, I think there might be something going on that says, well, they said no, or they said, nah, they weren't, but they didn't mean it. They were just, when I do that, they're going to be into it, or whatever, like, and there's a kind of sort of not taking people at their word,
right.
But it's really important to remember that everyone's perspective on this is different and not, your perspective is not the only way. Yeah.
And I mean, it's okay for men not to want sex 100% of the time too. Like we're all supposed, like it
definitely.
We were taught that in a lot of ways that we were supposed to be chasing sex 100% of the time. And if we didn't chase it and try and get it and achieve that we were failures as men.
Oh yes, big time.
And that's something that has to change too.
I think we might have a different experience having grown up in Weyburn than maybe somebody in, I don't know, Vancouver might have or something. I don't know. Like
that's possible.
I'm guessing. like we lived in a fairly conservative, misogynist town.
Very, yeah.
so I don't know. Like, but you're right though. Like, it's just like, I remember the locker room talk around that shit. Like,
yeah.
And just like the conquests and the, actually even worse. Like, I mean, I remember in our junior high, like
right.
guys forcefully doing things like going and grabbing this girl's butt and like,
oh yeah,
like
for sure.
shit like that. Right. So,
and it was treated as a joke or like,
or a badge of honor.
Yeah. Or something that they should be doing, not just something that was like,
yeah. I'm sorry.
I totally see how that's the thing that Kavanaugh was thinking. Honestly, like that it was. What are you reading?
Did you
that's
see
funny?
Dan's comment? I went to Weyburn specifically for sex sometimes. And this is the chat room. I guess so.
I guess so.
Were you a hockey player?
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
No. But I think I don't know. Unless anybody has any closing thoughts, I think done on this.
Sorry, just so we're rape culture bad.
Yes.
Thanks you. Sorry. That's good.
Yeah, rape culture bad.
Rape culture
consent
bad.
Good.
Consent good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you guys. Sorry. Fuck.